Well, welcome to Hope City Church, everybody. My name is Peter, and I'm the pastor here. And man, I am glad that you are with us today. Today, we are starting a brand new series called The Good Life. You know, we're going to be taking a look at how, according to Jesus, we can make the most out of our life and actually live out the good life. Who says, man, that sounds good to me? I mean, of course it does, right? Like, nobody ever says when they were like, you know, in elementary school, and they're like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Nobody's ever like, I hope that I get by with the bare minimum. Or, you know what? I actually hope that I don't have a good life, just like a mediocre life. No, when you're a kid, man, you're like, nobody is thinking, I hope that I work for the weekends, and that I work so hard for the weekends that by the time it gets to the weekend, I don't do any living, right? Like, no kid says that. No kid dreams and says, you know what, one day I hope that for the rest of my life, I become really good at Netflix and Xbox, right? Or social media and online shopping. No, we are all desiring the good life. We're all chasing after the good life and pursuing that. And if we're not careful, that's kind of where we can end up, is living for the weekend and working and being so exhausted and worn out, right? Now listen, here's what I want. I've been thinking about this for a while now. Here's what I want for my own life. Like, I want pictures for years to come of things. Like, I want to be involved in my kids' lives for years to come. I want to be involved in their lives for the rest of my life. Pictures of big days and big moments, right? Like graduations, proms, first cars, college, weddings. Like, I want to be there. I want to see pictures of all that stuff. In fact, I want to see frames filled with pictures like that. I want to be involved in my wife's life till the day that I die. I want to have so many pictures with Tiffany that throughout our life, it would be no wonder. Nobody would have to guess if she's my best friend or if I'm deeply in love with her. I want pictures of us filling frames like this, of us sitting at the beach or sitting holding hands or going on walks. You name it, I want to fill frames with it. I want pictures of Hope City Church, and I want to frame those pictures, man. I'm talking about pictures of baptisms. I want to talk about pictures from our first service in our brand new building, right? I want pictures of our serve team out there serving the community. I want to see pictures filling frames like this of kids over at Wilkinson being served by our church, and I want to be involved in our community. I want to see pictures filling this frame. See, I want to see my grandchildren get married. I want to be the cute old man that gets to be there and someone has to show me how to take pictures on this newfangled phone. I want this for life. See, we all want the good life. Imagine all of the picture frames that we could fill with the memories and that we would need to capture all of those things, and just your whole wall would be filled with gallery walls of every wall in your house with frame after frame after frame of the images and the memories that you have made from this kind of good life, right? Now listen, I don't know if all of that's going to happen in my life, but I can tell you this, as far as it depends upon me, I'm going to do everything I can to stay emotionally healthy, mentally healthy, to stay physically healthy, spiritually healthy, and relationally healthy. I'm going to do everything I can and work as hard as I can to make sure that I am living the good life. There isn't an ounce of me that just wants to settle on a mediocre life, right? How about you? What do you want for your life? Like, have you thought about the frames in your life that you want to fill? The images that you want to see inside of these frames? Because I'm telling you this, don't stop dreaming. I don't care if you just graduated high school and you think the sky is the limit for you, or maybe you can't remember the year that you graduated high school because it was so long ago. You don't stop dreaming either. In fact, I'm praying that in the midst of this series, The Good Life, that some God-sized dreams are birthed inside of you. That your life, you start to think about what life could be like and what God could do through you. See, if you've got a pulse, you've got a purpose, which means that you should be dreaming about what God can do through your life and what images you're going to frame up. But let me ask you this question. If we were to frame up your life right now, like if we were to set this in over your life, lay it over your life and frame it up, would you be happy with what is filling the frame these days? See, here's the interesting thing about frames, right? What goes in the frame gets our focus, right? Like it's what our eyes are drawn to. They're just drawn to whatever's happening inside this frame. So pay attention to the frames that are in people's homes right now. Like, what do you have framed in your house maybe? Is it pictures of kids? Is it picture of family? Is it pictures of pets? Is it pictures of your pastor? No, I'm kidding. That would be a little weird, right? But what gets framed gets your focus. And we can tell that what matters to people based upon what they frame and how they frame it, right? You can tell when somebody's taken the extra time and they've got more than a dollar store frame, right? And they've got a mat on it, or maybe they've got their family picture printed on one of those gigantic canvases and it's hanging right there. You know that is a value to them. See, do you know what else a frame does other than focus your attention? Your eyes are drawn to what's inside of the frame. Here's what a frame does. Here's what we know to be true. That what gets your attention gets your activity. So the question may still be, what's getting framed up in your life? And are you happy with what's in the frame? Are you happy with the activity that's in your life? In fact, on a scale of 1 to 10, whatever you would put in here, whatever you believe is laid inside of this frame, with 10 being the good life, how would you rate this? You may have heard me teach on this before, and I'll probably teach on this until the day that I die because it is so powerful. And it's one of the things that Jesus says, one of his purpose statements. In John 10:10, Jesus says this. He says that the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, and I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I love the way that the Message paraphrases this. Eugene Peterson breaks this down and he kind of breaks it into common English. Check out the way he says it. He says that a thief is there only to steal and kill and destroy. I came so that they can have real life and eternal life, more and better life than they ever dreamed of. Guys, does this sound like the good life to you? Anybody want this kind of life? I mean, I know I do, right? Like, who wants an average marriage? Not me. Who wants an average family? Who wants an average career? Who wants an average health, right? Who wants to be old and leave a legacy in this life? Who wants average friends who only care average about them? Nobody. Guys, we want this life and we want to live life to the full, better than we've ever dreamed kind of life. And this is exactly what Jesus came to offer. And all of this is possible because of who Jesus is. See, I'm telling you this, what gets framed up in your life gets your attention. And what gets your attention gets your activity. In other words, Jesus is saying this, I have come to reframe your life, to reframe your perspective, one that will bring you to life and bring life to you. And it's what we're calling the good life. Jesus was a masterful teacher. And he understood things very, very well. In fact, he knew that what we allowed to frame our perspective would get our attention, and ultimately it would determine what got our activity, which is why in the book of Matthew, from chapters 5 through 7, we see what is known as the Sermon on the Mount. This is a massive collection of Jesus' teachings. In fact, he's sitting on a hillside, and I call it, the message on the mountain, right? And Jesus is he's teaching not only his disciples, but all kinds of people who are just sitting around him. And here's what he's doing: he is reframing perspective through his teachings. In fact, many of his teachings say, you have heard it said, or you have seen that in that frame, but I say to you, I reframe it. He's reframing all these things that you've heard. Let me show you a different way, right? In fact, Jesus starts with the Beatitudes. You've probably heard of the Beatitudes, right? This was a common teaching style, actually not unique to Jesus, but he took what was already known, what was seen, and he reframed it. What he says, though, is entirely unique to him. See, look at what Jesus says in the Beatitudes. He says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." Now, pause here. See, Jesus is saying, blessed are those, right? Or happy are those. In other words, those people who are living the good life. Look at what he says. He's got a few more Beatitudes here. He says, blessed are those, or happy are those, or the good life belongs to those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. All right, now this makes sense, right? Like peacemakers are probably going to enjoy peace, right? So that's a good life. But listen to what Jesus says next. He says, blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. This is strange, right? Because nobody would put that in this frame. Nobody would say, man, the good life is when somebody persecutes me or makes fun of me or puts me down or slanders me or talks behind my back. Nah, nobody's saying, man, I hope I get more of that in my life. Can I frame up some more of that, please? No. But the opening of the Beatitudes, look at that too, right? Blessed are those who mourn. How's that the good life? That doesn't sound like a good life to me. Why? Because it means you have something to mourn about. You've got some kind of loss in your life. I hate saying goodbye to people. I hate saying goodbye to places I love or seasons of life that I've loved. But let me show you something. Because this mindset that you and I just talked about, this mindset comes directly from the framework of what's in the frame. And I'm telling you that Jesus is fixing the framing in our lives. Because too often, so many of us just walk through life framed up like this, right? Like we've got the frame, and who is in the dead center? Me. It is all about me. Because what did I even just say to you? I said, blessed are those who mourn. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like the good life, because I don't want to experience grief. I don't want to experience loss. Blessed are those who are persecuted. I don't want to be persecuted, right? Like that's not the good life. But what is in the center of the frame? I am. See, Jesus starts with a very specific framework. He says, blessed are those who, okay? And then he fills in the blank. He says, blessed are those who are poor in spirit, those who mourn, who are meek, who hunger and thirst for righteousness, who are merciful, pure in heart, peacemakers, persecuted, you know the list. But the list has something in common. These are people who are actively engaged in the present. And this should tell us something about the good life. According to Jesus, the good life is built on action, not intention. See, these people who Jesus described are actively involved in the process that results in the good life. Have you ever heard people say things like, oh, I want to be healthy, right? Like, or they'll say things like, I want to be financially stable, or I want to have a good marriage. I'm telling you this, I have said all three of those things at different times in my life. I have sat across the table from friends at Five Guys and been slamming a double bacon cheeseburger with a huge side of Cajun fries and a big thing of peanuts right there, cracking them open, and I'd be like, oh man, rubbing my belly. Like, I wish I was healthier. I'm gonna get healthy this year as I jam that thing down my gullet, right? Like, something doesn't line up. Or I've said, man, babe, we should get financially stable. Let's get healthy. And then like our spending habits have nothing to do with any saving habits, giving habits, tithing habits. Like there's no generosity in my life. And I'm saying one thing and acting like another. Or I've said from the beginning of my marriage, like I always want to have an amazing marriage. I want my wife, to feel like that I desperately love her and that I care about only, her and only have eyes for her. And guess what? That has required some investment. That has required time. That has required resources in my life to continually keep that framed up. So my question for you is, where in your life do your actions not line up with your intentions? Because we can't say that we want to do something and then be disappointed in the outcome when we do nothing about it. Why is it that we think this way all the time though? Because it's easy to say something, but it takes work and discipline to live out intentions, to make it happen. If you want to be financially stable, well, it takes work to stay on a budget. If you want to be relationally healthy, it takes a process. It takes work to work through problems and talk through issues. It takes energy and effort to invest into the other person. If you want to be emotionally healthy, it takes, the willingness to be vulnerable with yourself and very likely the process, with someone else, what's going on inside of you. Jesus knows this, and he says that the good life is built on actions. Blessed are those who are active. See, here's the issue with Jesus' statement, though. We see Jesus says, blessed are those, or happy are those who are active in, but it's not what you and I would normally think. Because, again, who's in the center of the frame? Are we framing this up properly? Jesus doesn't say, those people who are happy, who have the good life, are the ones that are making all the money. No, he doesn't say, those people who are happy or who are living the good life are the ones who are hanging out with all of the popular people, or the ones who are, sipping skinny drinks with an umbrella in it while sitting on the beach. No, he says, blessed are those, or happy are those, the good life belongs to those who actively engage the feelings and emotions of today before they ever experience the relief of tomorrow. Let me break it down for you. Look at the exact structure of the sentences that Jesus says. He says, blessed are, so that's current tense. Blessed are the merciful. Why? For they will be shown mercy. They will be shown mercy, but they are merciful. See, one is present tense and the other is future tense. The outcome that we all want is to be shown mercy, to receive the kingdom of heaven, to be comforted when we mourn, to be filled, to see God, you name it. But he says that the blessing, it comes in the future while you remain actively faithful in the present. You are blessed even if you don't feel it. Listen to me, look at me. Your situation may be so painful right now that you're saying, Peter, no way that I am living the good life. It's impossible. But let me ask you, how are you framing your life? What is getting the attention? What's getting your focus? What are you putting in the center of the frame? Is it you? Is it me? Or is it Christ? Is it the ways of Jesus? Is it the invitation of Jesus? You're blessed right now, even if you don't feel it. Your situation may be so painful right now that you're saying, Peter, impossible. And your present may be so painful that you're even afraid to think about your future. But Jesus is saying that you're blessed today, so stay the course. In other words, don't abandon tomorrow's results because of today's pain. I'm going to say it again. Don't abandon tomorrow's results because of today's pain. I know that today is hard. I know that it can feel like there's a cloud surrounding you, like your days are consistently gray. I know that everyone else, you look on Instagram and what are they framing up? Sunshine and flowers and beach trips and you feel like you're stuck in the rain. But I'm telling you, the good life is here as you stay faithful to God. Do you know where we get stuck though? We get stuck on living out what we know to be true about God because all we can do is feel what we think to be true about ourselves. Don't give up on what you heard God say about your life or your situation because it hasn't happened yet. Think about the Israelites, right? They were in Egyptian slavery for 400 years. They walked through the desert for 40 years, but God had told them previous to that he would bring them to a place, the promised land, that they would occupy for the rest of their lives. And then he promised them the Messiah, right? Jesus was to be born. The Bible tells us that before Jesus was born, that the people of Israel didn't even hear from the voice of God for 400 years. God was silent. So did God forget about them? Did God abandon them? No. See, what do you do in the moments where you feel like God is silent in your life? You keep walking. What do you do when you feel like you don't see God? You just stay the course. You don't abandon tomorrow's results because of today's pain. Several years ago, Tiffany and I, the frame on our life looked pretty bad. It was pretty difficult. There was some pain. And you know what we did? We looked at each other and we said, we're just going to keep taking the next right step. Not based upon what we're feeling in that moment, but what we knew to be right in the moment. We need to live in anticipation of what God is going to do, letting God reframe our circumstances, taking it off of ourselves and putting it right back on Jesus. See, this is exactly what he's doing in the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus gets ready to bring us on the ride of our lives, though. Blessed are you, happy are you. The good life belongs to those who follow in the ways of Jesus. Those who accept the invitation of Jesus. As he says in Matthew chapter 11, this invitation's beautiful. It says, come to me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Anybody exhausted? Anybody tired? Anybody worn out? He says, take my yoke on you and learn from me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Jesus says, learn from me. Would you let my ways reframe your life? Can we be honest for a second, though? We want things instantly. We've been trained for this, right? We can have anything we want in about 2 days from ordering it, from clicking it, right? We can get the maximum results with minimal effort. And this is a twisted way of thinking when it comes to our lives. It puts us square in the middle of the frame. And it can apply to the marketplace, sure, and that's great, and that's a great way to operate business, but this doesn't apply to maturity. See, maturity takes time. It can be inspired in an instant, but fully develops over a lifetime. And what we see in Jesus' Beatitudes, and what we'll see throughout the remainder of this Sermon on the Mount, throughout the remainder of this series, is that we need to focus on future promises, not immediate rewards. Christianity is not a scheme to reduce stress or to lose weight or to advance in your career. Following Jesus, it doesn't keep you from getting sick or getting cancer or experiencing heartache. Following Jesus is a way of framing your life on the assurance that the meekness of God is the way of God. That righteousness and peace will actually prevail, and that God's future will be a time filled with mercy. So the good life belongs to those who live this way even when it seems foolish, even if they don't see the rewards yet, even if it's like the Polaroid is still developing, right? Even if they don't experience the rewards on this side of heaven, Jesus says, this is the good life. Blessed are those who, because they will. I promise you, keep your eyes focused on Jesus. Because do you know who gets immediate rewards? Selfish people. Toddlers. I want it my way, and I want it right now. They put themselves in the middle of the frame. Teenagers do the same. They can't see anything other than themselves, right? And I can almost promise you that you will immediately end up focusing on you and your immediate needs when the frame just hovers over your own life. When Tiffany was pregnant with Noah, when I first found out about my son, I couldn't wait to hold him. In fact, I was like, I wanted to experience what it meant to be a dad. I wanted to hold him and rock him. I wanted to see his face. I wanted to hear his voice. I wanted all of these things, right? I imagined playing catch with him in the yard. I wanted to teach him how to fish and watch him learn to ride a bike and all these great things. And I wrote this down in my journal. And I'm telling you, I couldn't wait to hear what his first word was. And this was all in an instant when I found out that my wife was pregnant. But can I tell you, though, that it would have been catastrophic for my son in that moment, that Tiffany, if she went into labor right then because I just wanted to hold my son. Like, Noah would not be here today if I forced the blessing that is my son into the world prematurely. See, pregnancy takes time. The body develops over time, and my immediate desires needed to be tabled. In fact, I'm telling you this, it's possible for you to miss out on future blessings because we try to force them before they're fully developed or before we're ready to receive them. We all want the good life. And many of us look at the life and we see the good life others have and say, man, I wish I had that. I wish that. But what we've missed out on is the hard work and the discipline, the waiting, the pain, the heartache that it took to get to where that person is today. What God has done through their life and how God has redeemed past pain and past mistakes. I'm telling you this, what gets the attention in my life gets framed in my life. So, is it me? Or is Jesus reframing it? Am I focused on my own desires and outcomes? Or am I willing to accept an invitation from my Savior? Today, I wonder if you would be willing to set aside the framework of your life. You know, the kind of let go of that white-knuckled grip on your life and the control of your life in order to accept an invitation from Jesus, to put Jesus at the center of your life and to set aside your desires, your fears, and to see what Jesus might do in your life. And here's what we will experience. When you reframe your focus, you revise your outcomes. You may not be thrilled with what's in your frame right now. Would you reframe your focus? Would you take it off of yourself and put it on to Jesus? Because it's going to revise your outcomes. You may be struggling in a marriage right now, and the picture of that marriage is bleak and it is feeling seemingly hopeless. Reframe it, and you're going to revise it. And see, when you follow Jesus, you know that you don't go by feelings alone. We live a life of faith. And you're willing to stay in the game. You're willing to fight for that marriage. You're willing to fight for that person that you took a vow to and you promised to be there through thick and thin. You may be pushing with everything that you have to get that promotion at work, and you have a white-knuckle grip on it because you know that promotion would increase the comfort in your life. But what if God is calling you not to focus on comfort, but to focus on his call for your life? Imagine what God could do and what he could fill that frame with when you take the framework off of you and put it onto him. If we're going to experience the good life, if we're going to experience Jesus' version of life, I'm telling you, let me encourage you with this today. No matter how you define or rate your life right now, there could be no better thing than to accept the invitation of Jesus and reframe your life and put him at the center of it. Today, you may have never done that, made that decision. In fact, you might say, Peter, this frame has been all about me for the entirety of my life. Well, I want to encourage you to take steps towards that. And it's as simple as this. It's as simple as just talking to God and saying something like, you know, God, I have put myself at the center of my life. I've lived on my own, for my own. But today, I want to take the framework off of me and trust you. If that's a decision that you want to make, I want to lead you in just a short prayer as we close out this message today. God, I pray for each person within the sound of my voice. And God, if there is somebody that is needing to reframe their life, God, they are unhappy with the current state of their life. God, I pray that they would have the courage to accept your invitation for their life. And if that's you, I want to encourage you to just to pray in your own words, repeat after me. Dear God, I want to take myself out of the center and put Jesus there. God, thank you for sending Jesus to die on the cross for me so that I could be free and forgiven of my sin. Help me walk in a way that keeps you at the center of my life. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Hey guys, I am so honored and privileged to be with you today. I hope that this week is an incredible week where you take steps towards living the good life.